Kansas City Sports Update Studios. Welcome to Kingdom Radio, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. Brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Join Kris and Richard on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Player FM, CastBox, and all third-party applications. Check us out on Facebook platforms such as Kansas City Sports Update and Arrowhead Update. And if you cannot find us there, Google or search Kingdom Radio and Kansas City Chiefs, and you will find us. Welcome to the Kingdom. Kingdom.
How are we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? It is Monday, November 11th, and look, we had a disappointing loss yesterday against the Tennessee Titans. I'm sure nobody expected any of that to happen, but unfortunately, Kansas City could not do much to stop Tennessee, and with that, we lost the game 35-32. I have Kris Chavez, our senior NFL analyst and co-host, with me today to discuss and break down this nail-biter, which was, kind of a dagger in the heart to a lot of Chiefs fans with a lot of overreactions going on out there in Chiefs Kingdom. So, Kris, kind of give me your feelings as to this game.
The game is a mixed emotion because I'm very hopeful, and I liked what I saw on the offensive side for the most part.
Right.
Defensive, kind of upset because we've regressed over what we've done the last couple weeks. And then big picture, I'm disgusted by some of the overreaction out there as well.
Yes, there is, and I'm not going to quote any reactions there in Chiefs Kingdom. But yes, I would say that fans are overreacting just a bit. And, Kris, like you had stated before, this is a scenario where you're going to have a bad loss. And this might be the only bad loss for the Chiefs this season, to a team like this. And it happens to every team just about every single season. So, the overreaction, it's like, I know that we want to win here in Kansas City, but be realistic. Kris, kind of give us your take on this, because I know that it has you a little bit fired up over there.
Okay, so looking at it big picture-wise, it could have been much worse. I mean, you look at the Falcons and New Orleans Saints. You've got a 7-1 team going up against a 1-7 team, and gets blown out by the 1-7 team.
Right. And
the score line, the play would make you think that the Falcons were the 7-1 team. We played a team that was 4-5,
mm-hmm.
and took them to the end really before they actually won the game.
Right.
We took them to the brink, and they beat us by 3.
Right.
And you and I were having this conversation off air before, but it was a very entertaining, very exciting game.
It was.
And it's one of those games, it kind of leaves me feeling very much similar to the Los Angeles Rams game last year, where it was going back and forth, and it really just came down to the last play before you knew who was going to win the game.
Right, and look, you can't hate on a game like that, and that's my thing, and I'm sure Kris is, also agree with this. You cannot jump down the throats of the Kansas City Chiefs because we lost because our field goal was blocked. I mean, the last play, we had blocked field goal. What are we going to do about that? We battled the whole game. We were in control the whole game. Then we had one defensive possession where things did not go our way. Unfortunately, it was at the worst time ever. But look, we have Patrick Mahomes, on our sideline, starting for the Chiefs. We knew if we got the ball back, we were going to have a chance to kick the field goal. And what did Mahomes do? He put us in that scenario. And it just, for Chiefs Kingdom to lash out the way they are, say we need to get rid of Andy Reid, all these things. I'm blown away by. I know we have passion here in Kansas City, but really, Kansas City, I mean, what are we thinking? I feel like you're spoiled. We're being spoiled here, and some of these comments are just way out of line.
Yeah, it's not like Hall of Fame coaches just fall off of trees. We finally have a guy who came in and righted the ship and has got us going in the right direction.
Right.
And he's not even having a bad year. We are 6-4 right now, Kansas City.
Right.
We have a winning record, and you want to put him on the hot seat?
For no reason.
For what? For one bad game.
For no reason. None. None. And I don't care what franchise you are. If you're a winning franchise, and let's look at the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I'm actually going to take this from Darren Smith. I watched him. I actually watched his radio show here on Facebook, but you can't. If you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and their history with their franchise and their coaches, look, you don't can a coach because he has what you would consider a subpar or mediocre year on a season that's not even over yet. But it's a scenario where you have to be joking, right? I mean, how are people seriously looking at this as a scenario where it's time to fire our coach? I mean, like you said, these coaches don't fall out of the sky. And who are we going to go get at Kansas City? What coach would you say we should replace a legend with in Andy Reid? It's like, I don't know how much more you can want out of a football team. I know you want perfection, but it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and you look at the coaches who are going to be out of their contracts, whatever, this year, who might be getting canned. They're getting canned for a reason.
Right.
And you're going to have to take a chance on an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and promote them. They're unproven. Or they are an offensive coordinator because they failed as a head coach. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a situation where a lot of coaches, if they were out of their contracts, would want to come and coach a guy like Patrick Mahomes. We have a tremendous roster.
Yes, absolutely.
But all of those good coaches are tied up in contracts or going to be getting extended in the offseason. We're not going to have a pick of the litter this year like we had when we got lucky and Andy Reid became available. Right.
And look here too. I mean, so let's get rid of the coach that produced a quarterback that throws for 446 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Like, come on now, Kansas City, come on.
Especially after having being gone for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, he comes back, and in his first game back, he throws for over 400 yards.
Yeah, 450 yards, mind you, and three touchdowns, and it's just, look, what more do we want from our team? I understand that our defense didn't put us in a scenario that Chiefs Kingdom would have liked, but at the same time, we were in a position to win that game. That was a special teams play away, from us taking home a victory. And Kris, you and I spoke before the game about special teams and how it needed to be an impact today. And I'll tell you what, it was an impact, but in the opposite direction. We're missing extra points. We're missing field goals. We're getting field goals blocked. I mean, special teams has really been something that's been overlooked with the Kansas City Chiefs. And if anybody's going to be mad at anybody, let's look at special teams. It doesn't have anything to do with Andy Reid. Andy Reid is not the special teams coach, okay? And I'm not saying it's Dave Tobe's fault either, but at the same time, we had to rely on our special teams, and they didn't pull through.
Yeah, and unfortunately, everybody's going to look at this game and say, this is where our special teams started to show that they needed work. It's been going on for a while now.
Right.
But, this is where it reared its ugly head because everybody saw it.
It's been
But like you said, it was a missed field goal. It was a missed block that led to a blocked field goal. Penalties on returns. It's been going on for too long now. But I mean,
what about the intentional grounding?
man, that was a bad snap on Winchester, and I've seen articles where they're calling for Dustin Colquitt. He needs to go. That was not on Colquitt. He never called for the ball.
Right, and look, it's one of those things that whole scenario with the special teams, though, all of that. I mean, the botched snap, which wasn't his fault. It was the long snapper. But then, look, you did the missed field goal, the mixed extra point, the blocked field goal. I mean, those were 4 critical plays at critical times in the game. And then another thing I didn't like was towards the end of the game, it was third down. I think it was like 3rd down and 2 or 3rd and 3, and we were driving. And all we needed was the first down to win the game. And Patrick Mahomes slid down for the sack in the backfield. And that's not Patrick Mahomes. And like, it just seemed like there's some really odd plays there towards the end of the game that just makes me question a few things. But I don't know where to put my intuition as to what happened, because it was a huge swing of events. Some of the weirdest plays happened you typically don't see, all in a sequence of a short amount of time, and it just seemed a little odd. But
okay, so let's talk about that 3rd and 2 play really quick.
Okay.
Because I think that it was a very heads-up play by Mahomes to take the slide, as opposed to force the throw and stop the clock on an incompletion, or for him to run out of bounds. Let's say, for instance, that he keeps running forward. He's potentially stressing out that kneecap, and that, to me, that shows that he's not 100% back, because he doesn't. We didn't see him. While we saw him mobile enough yesterday, we didn't see him take off and run. There were a couple occasions where he had the opportunities and he didn't do that. He could have there, and he probably would have had the first down. But I think that he doesn't trust his leg enough right now.
Right.
And so, and we can get into whether or not calling a tight end screen was the right or wrong call there, but it was a very heads-up play on his part to slide and to force Tennessee to use their last timeout.
And it's hard because, typically with Patrick Mahomes, you expect him to scramble and get that first down, especially, after all that he's done all game long, and I'm not putting that on Patrick Mahomes. And I guess it is a heads-up play, but at the same time, it just doesn't fit the mold as far as his gameplay, and then just everything that happened after that. And I'm not saying that I don't know, the swing of events for me was really funky in this game, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, and it just, I don't know. This game left a sour taste in my mouth, but not particularly for the same reasons that the rest of Chiefs Kingdom is upset about. So
yeah, and I think that on that particular play, we saw a Patrick Mahomes that was moving around very much like Peyton Manning,
right.
Who just he runs like a rock back there. And we're going to probably have to expect that for a little while until he has confidence on his leg.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have put him in that position. I would have had him either standing in the pocket and had more options available for him to throw to, or potentially run the ball. But the problem with running the ball, and again, I'm kind of referring to what a lot of the chatter's been.
Mm-hmm.
If you run the ball there, Tennessee's expecting that. And so you're trying to catch them off guard and get them thinking that it's going to be a run. Meanwhile, you run something else, and it's a different play. And that's what they were trying to do. Tennessee didn't fall for it. They had a good defense set up for that occasion. And so it was just a matter of maybe we got too cute. Maybe we out played ourselves on that play. but Mahomes still did the best that he could to put the pressure on Tennessee, because they're going to be getting the ball back, presumably after a made field goal.
Right.
They're going to have to drive down, and they're going to have to score a touchdown with no timeouts.
Right.
That's not what happened, but that was the plan. And in any other instance, if that had worked out, everybody would be cheering, saying we did the right thing there.
Right. But even if so, that's so my thoughts on that are before the intentional grounding, the botched snap, whatever you want to call that field goal. That play to this point holds no grounds. For my decision as far as look, he made the right decision. Patrick Mahomes made the right decision. He slid. It is what it is. And the chatter amongst the Chiefs kingdom with him running the ball, putting the ball on the ground. If I'm Andy Reid, I don't trust Damian Williams at this point in the game when he already put the ball on the ground, and then the Titans took it all the way back for a touchdown. I'm not going to put the ball in his hands for the game. It's regardless of what people think the play calling should have been. Like you said, it's a chess match, and it doesn't come down to one play. It comes down to a series of plays, and I'm putting it on special teams, and that's where I stand with it. Because, look, Patrick Mahomes was Patrick Mahomes all game long. There's no denying it. I mean, we let him throw the ball around all day, 50 attempts, and he put up 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. And, the running game combined, we probably put up 100 yards, maybe just shy of that. And Tyreek Hill having a huge day with 11 receptions, 157 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce with the touchdown, 75 yards. Hardman with one of the most... Okay, let's talk about this Mahomes to Hardman touchdown pass here, Kris. Tell me in your words, when you watch that play, what does it tell you?
Man, my legit response to that was, whoa, that guy is fast.
Yes.
And I was immediately looking online to try to figure out, how fast that guy was going, because that guy was on fast forward and everybody else was in slow motion.
It was something else. And I'm telling you, I thought that I saw, Hardman's speed, a couple weeks back when he took one to the house. And I even made a reference to when we first saw Tyreek Hill's speed against the Denver game, where he, hit it to the sideline and just turned on the Jets and nobody could catch him. I'm telling you, Hardman has that other level of speed for sure. But then also, how about that pass from Mahomes? Jumps in the air, thrown off balance, perfect dart. I mean, what? That's one of the best passes I've ever seen in my life.
It was a very heads-up play for him to know that the only way that he was going to get rid of that ball is if he got up in the air. Because if he stayed on the ground, his throwing motion would have been complicated, and as well as contested. He could have been getting hit in a split second before he released the ball. Jumping into the air, he had a clear vision and a clear line of sight directly to Hardman to complete that pass.
And it was one of the most amazing throws I've ever seen in my life. And obviously, I'm not surprised by anything Patrick Mahomes does anymore. But, when we keep referring to the fact that we have the Michael Jordan of football, we have that. We do have that. And at Chiefs Kingdom, let me tell you this. Kris, I'm not sure if you've seen any of these talks, but I better not. I don't want to see another person to even bring up the fact of moving on from Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you've...
Oh, I did see one of those.
That blows my mind. This is why things are ridiculous today in Chiefs Kingdom, is because it is getting that far, and it's just like, look, how much do you want to beat up on a team that is still potentially headed to a Super Bowl? Like, how hard can you come down on a team, Kansas City? Like, you got to take a step back and breathe yourself. You know, we have all these hotheads out there that just say whatever they want to, and I don't even know if they're thinking about it before they say it, but we're still a team here. This is a team aspect. This is the Kansas City Chiefs, our hometown team. I don't care if they lose or not. Like, what's going on in Kansas City? Kris, that's my big. What's going on in Kansas City? Can you tell me? I mean, what's going on?
I honestly don't know, because it seems like one bad loss. You know, okay, so we have 4 losses on the season. You can look at each of those and give a very good reason prior to yesterday's game. Mm-hmm. And you can give a good reason as to why we lost the game.
Right.
Yesterday, it was and I'm just going to go with the Jim Carrey movie here. It's a series of unfortunate events.
Yes.
Because it was one thing after another, after another, after another. Jeff Schwartz, the Iron Man of offensive linemen, and goes down to injury and he's out. Yep. He had never missed a snap in his career.
Ever.
7,894 snaps consecutive.
That
up
is,
until he got injured yesterday.
And that is a huge accomplishment in itself. I mean, and look, we take that man for granted too there in Chiefs Kingdom. And you're right. Keep going, Kris.
So he goes down. On the very next play, his replacement, Rankin, goes down with a apparent leg injury. We're going to figure out what happened today at some point. We're going to hear from Kansas City on that. He goes down. We got no backups at that point.
None. Zero, Kansas City. 0 players to back up the line that is on the field at that time. And that's a huge deal, and I think we all realize that.
And thankfully, after that series, Schwartz was able to come back in. But that was a scary scenario.
Yes.
And then just everything throughout the entire game. I mean, we ended up losing, Ogba to a torn pec.
Which has been our anchor for the defense all season long. I'm more upset about losing Ogba than I am losing this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because although he's not the starter, he is the most productive lineman that we have. And that's not throwing any shade at anybody that we have, Chris Jones.
Right.
You know, it's just a matter of he's the one who's getting the production. He's been constant, and even though he might not be getting the pressures, he's knocking the ball down. He's eating up some double cover or double blocks, double teams, so that other guys can get the opportunity.
I mean, he's got quite a few sacks this season himself.
Yeah, he's our sack leader right now.
Yes.
With, I believe, 5.5. And
so he is getting those pressures, you know, like he's a big impact on this Chiefs team, and that's a huge hit, and it's a lot bigger than Chiefs Kingdom understands. Like, if you look at the numbers on paper, this man is the quiet leader of the defense, and so now, you know, it's another time where it's next man up, because he tore his pectoral muscle. We're not really sure, you know, the severity. We know the severity, but we're not sure the length of time with him yet either, and we'll find out today, I'm sure. But it's a deep tissue. It's in the thick tissue of the pectoral muscle. So there's soft tissue, and then there's thick tissue. And he tore the thick tissue, which is a way worse injury than tearing that soft. So there could be, you know, a surgery, a significant surgery, and some significant time missed by Ogba if he even comes back this season.
Yeah, some of the literature that I was reading on this type of injury, you don't really get full strength back for up to a year, which would put us in the middle of next season. And losing Ogba at full strength for that amount of time is going to be rather significant against the Chiefs. Now, and we can talk about this later, but there's a scenario that that could potentially work out for the Chiefs to overcome losing him on the D line. But again, we'll talk about that later. This is going to be a bigger hit than potentially even losing Chris Jones for those couple games.
Yeah, and really, he's bigger in Chiefs Kingdom than a lot of people realize, and that's really where it lies with me. As a player, he's great. We need him on the field, but this is going to have a huge impact. And is Ogba on a 1-year deal?
He was finishing up his rookie deal because we traded for him, and I believe he had 1 year left on the deal, so he should be a free agent this offseason. So,
if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, do you take a chance in bringing him back, or do we cut a player like Ogba loose? Because we know what he can do. He's shown us what he can do. And now, this injury, this upcoming, I'm not going to say he's out for the season, but it's not looking good at this point. What do you do if you're the Chiefs?
I signed him to a 2-year deal with, obviously there's going to be a bump in pay, but this way it's going to, because if we do 1 year, and let's say that it was the most severe element of injury to this, where he's out and can't really return to full strength for a year, or that way we instead of just getting him for essentially half a season, we get him for a season and a half after he comes back from the injury.
Right.
And we can truly invest in him and show him that we want him here, and we just want to give him 2 years for him to come back, show that he can play at full strength, and then potentially extend him that following year.
And it's just, this is a scenario that is just a recurring thing for the Kansas City Chiefs all season long. I've never seen a Chiefs team be beat up like we have this season. We have overcome so much. And to be honest with you, Kansas City, for us to even be sitting at 6-4 right now, we should feel extremely fortunate and not even talk about, how can you even talk about firing our head coach? Look at everything we've been through. It just, my mind's still blown on all this stuff, Kris. And Chiefs King, I'm going to tell you, Kris is a very level-headed guy, but I'll tell you what, I got a phone call this morning about 9:30 a.m., and he was fired up over all these comments, Chiefs Kingdom, and it just is, it doesn't resonate very well because of the true scenario of how this game played out. And I know water trickles downhill, but it doesn't stop at Andy Reid. I'm sorry, it is not Andy Reid's fault. We need to lighten up a little bit here, Kansas City, and we got more football to play. So, Kris, let's hop into some more details of this game.
Real quick, one other thing that I just want to throw in before we do get deeper into the game. Mm-hmm. The position that the Chiefs are in right now, with the injuries, with everything, mm-hmm. and I don't know who the guy is, but whoever the strength and conditioning coach is the guy that I'm throwing my lasso around, right, and saying, I'm calling you from the herd, bro. Because something's up with all of these injuries. I mean, injuries happen, I get that. But this many injuries, something is not happening right in that gym, in the locker room, in the workout room, to get these guys at full strength and ready for the season. Something's up.
It's just, you said it perfectly, a series of unfortunate events, and it is just one thing after another after another. I feel like we're plagued this season. It's like the football gods are like, we're going to give you, the best thing that we've ever created, and that's Patrick Mahomes. But we're going to give you the hardest road possible for it to happen, and it's just, it's tough to watch game in and game out. You almost hold your breath on every play because, I'd never seen an offensive line go down the way it did in 2 or 3 plays like it did yesterday. It's and Ogba, all these big players, Schwartz. It's just all of this adding up and adding up and adding up and piling up. And as soon as we feel like we're getting people back, more injuries pile up. And whose fault is that? I know that the medical staff, I don't really know what's going on. They've always been one of the best medical staffs in the NFL. I don't really want to take anything away from them, but it just seems like it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them, but and I can't really put it on the medical staff because medical staff, they treat the injuries, but the strength and conditioning coach, they should be getting these guys at full strength and getting their muscles ready for the games, right, so that these injuries shouldn't be happening.
Right.
And now, injuries happen every year, I get that. But you look around the league, and other teams are not having the plethora of injuries that we're having. Yes. And again, it could just be a freak thing, or something could be happening or not happening on the strength conditioner's end. It's just something that I would look into if I were Andy Reid and say, okay, what was going on preseason, during the season? Do we need to change things in that regard?
Right. And hey, there's no problem with looking all the way up and down the whole organization and narrowing down the problem, even if it lies in the freak accident, type of situation. It's evaluating your staff and the whole organization, and that's something that at this point, I want to say that it needs to be done, but it doesn't at the same time, because I still have complete faith in our organization. But we need our players healthy. And it's tough. I don't want to point the finger at anybody right now. I just have to say, as a football team, the Chiefs need to get it together a little bit more. We need to get things in line, get it together, and go out there and play solid football. Because here's the thing. Offense, we're really good at playing mistake-free football. So anybody who wants to bash Coach Reid, I don't understand, because, we have a quarterback with no interceptions. 0 interceptions on the season. It's really all I need to say.
Yeah, and he's got 1 interception, but
1, that's right. Yeah, last week.
But you look at what this guy is doing on the season, and he was out for 2.5 games, and he's 200 yards away from leading the league in passing yards.
Right. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous stats right there. Ridiculous.
And assuming that he has another game like he did today or yesterday, he could be leading the league in passing yards after the Monday night game against San Diego or Los Angeles Chargers. Yes. And for him to be gone for 2.5 games and still be right there, that's tremendous.
That's huge.
He's currently at an 18 touchdown to 1 interception ratio.
The man went out and threw 450 yards and 3 touchdowns after dislocating his kneecap 3 weeks ago. What more could you want from the kid?
Precisely.
And that's also a testament to Andy Reid's play calling. And that's my thing, is I can't help but go back and refer to this, because these comments, yesterday, today, it's so horrible that it just it's upsetting to see our fans react the way they are and want to put it on, Coach Reid, when we need to put it on our special teams. That's our special teams lost us this game yesterday. That's who did it. That's hands down. You can't put it. How many points do they leave off the board? 7 points. They left a touchdown worth of points off the board. Whose fault is that? Is that Andy Reid's fault? I don't think so.
I'm going to go a completely different direction on you here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put it on the offense.
Really?
But here's my reasoning why. Okay? How many field goals did Harrison Butker attempt yesterday?
What, 4, 3?
5.
5? Okay.
How many did he attempt last week?
4?
Okay? Something there in 2 weeks for our kicker to attempt 9 field goals tells me we're not putting it in the end zone.
Very true. Very true.
Okay, we're getting into the red zone, and then our drives are stalling.
Yes.
Why are they stalling?
Right.
Because we only have speed, and in a condensed field, that speed doesn't mean jack squat.
Right.
So then we only have one receiver who's truly a weapon in the red zone, in Travis Kelce.
Correct.
And so teams can sit back and play zone against us in the red zone, and they take away the majority of our options. Yeah, Kelce had a touchdown yesterday, but it wasn't a typical football play.
Right. It was a shovel pass.
It was a bit of a gimmick pass.
Right.
And so it's frustrating to see our offense do so well to get down to the other end of the field and then settle for a field goal.
Right. And especially...
I mean, aside from the last field goal that ended up getting blocked, we should have had at least 3 of those field goals turn into touchdowns yesterday.
Right. Right. I completely agree. And that's, I can't argue with you on that one. You know, I guess there's so many things across the board that really do need to be evaluated. But I guess in an NFL franchise, that's something that never stops anyway. There's constant evaluation, constant critique. And we've had to dig deep this season. And I can see how it is lacking on the offense, but then whose fault is that too? You know, like how much more do we, 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, what more do we need from our offense to win games? You know, like the rushing game, like 0 touchdowns, 0 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
That's so, and this is something that's extremely consistent. I don't care about Damian Williams' 91-yard touchdown, because I promise you a decade from now, if that hasn't been broken, like I'm not going to be like, oh, Damian Williams has the longest rushing touchdown in Kansas City Chiefs history. I'll probably forget about it after this year. Like, that's how much impact that Damian Williams has on the Kansas City Chiefs in my mind. I want Damian Williams gone. I want Darrell Williams gone. I want Darwin Thompson moved up in the lineup. I say we get rid of Shady as well. And I mean, I'm ready to revamp the whole running back by committee. Everybody's got to go.
Ricky, I got a prediction for you, bro.
Yep.
And I was watching the game of the century on Saturday, LSU versus Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, okay, worst case scenario, we don't make the Super Bowl.
Right.
So we're not drafting at 32. We're drafting 28-ish, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing what everybody else is predicting that we do and drafting a cornerback or an offensive lineman, what if we draft Najee Harris out of Alabama?
Oh my gosh, that would be that's in my mind, an epitome of a Brett Veach pick right there, going against the grain. You know, probably I would say thinking outside the box, because let's be honest, in this day and age in football, a running back taken in the first round is almost unheard of. It doesn't matter how great of talent you are, unless you won the Heisman Trophy. If you're a running back, you're going in the second round.
Yeah, and so that would be a very valuable pick for us to grab him there. And then next year we pair him up with D-Train, Darwin Thompson,
Yeah.
and have a 1-2 punch coming out of the backfield.
Yes.
I mean, you could not have a more well-rounded, balanced offense going into the regular season. And then that puts and then I will say that puts pressure on Andy Reid to call a balanced game. Throw the ball, run the ball.
Right.
Because you've got weapons everywhere.
Right.
When Patrick Mahomes has been at the helm of the offense, we've been throwing the ball more because he doesn't trust our running backs.
And reason being, I wish I had this stat up right now. I mean, our running backs have put the ball on the ground at least 5 times this season already.
Oh, it's been more than that. Give me 1 second and I can pull that up for you. As a team, I know that the Chiefs have 17 fumbles for the season.
Wow.
And we are only at week 10 right now.
And that's horrible. We have got to fix those mistakes right there. And it's the small things. And I can't even say that, look, holding on to the ball is the biggest thing in football. like, come on now, Kansas City. What do you protect the ball? Stop carrying it like a loaf of bread, like Kris has been saying. Look, this is frustrating, and I understand it. Everybody in Chiefs Kingdom is frustrated today. But I feel like there's lots of reasons to be, and it's tough. I feel like everybody just wants to find a place to point the finger and pinpoint and say, this is it. But there's a lot, and I don't think it's any one person's fault.
Okay, so I got the stat.
Okay.
And my apologies. I got the fumble numbers and the sack numbers reversed. My apologies. Mm-hmm. So fumbles total, we have 7, but we have 4 on running plays. LaShawn McCoy has 1 as a runner.
Right.
Damian Williams has 1 as a runner. Darrell Williams has 1 as a runner. And Patrick Mahomes has 1 as a runner. And as a receiver, Sammy Watkins has 2 fumbles. Mm-hmm. And LaShawn McCoy has another fumble there.
And they're adding up, and they've been proven to be costly. And that's the thing is, when the running backs have put the ball on the ground, has put us in positions like it did yesterday. Yesterday was huge. They ran that in for a touchdown. And then put the offense right back on the field, which obviously that's a good thing. We want our offense, but come on, Damian Williams, hold on to the ball. Now you see how critical it is, because that's another part of the game that swung the momentum. I don't want to say in Tennessee's favor, but it definitely gave them more confidence going into the latter half of the second half of the game.
Yeah, if we could have gone into halftime ahead, let's say 20 to 7, mm-hmm. 20 to 6 right there, mm-hmm. That's going to be a very different team that we see come out in the second half, where they're demoralized and they're having to fight and claw out. Them coming out in the second half, 13-13, they just had a conversation at halftime that told them, we can win this game.
Right.
And they play like that in the second half. I'll absolutely give it to them. They play their hearts out that second half. Yes,
and they did, didn't it? That's a testament to the toughness of Derrick Henry. He's absolutely a player that gets stronger as the game goes on. It's kind of like a Jerome Bettis back in the day. But obviously a lot more cut up. He's huge. Derrick Henry is an extremely big football player, and he showed just how much that means to Tennessee in the second half of this game. So let's get into, some of the deeper stuff here in the game. And we're really going to have to fly through this. We've already been on the air for 45 minutes. So look, the Chiefs start off the game great, with the Mahomes shovel pass to Travis Kelce, on the play that you were talking about, into the end zone, a 2-yard touchdown. And that drive looked great. Actually, Damian Williams was looking really, really good on that first drive. I was seeing a burst out of him that I hadn't seen. It was almost like Darwin Williams-esque. And so we were looking good. And then we got on defense. And talk about that Chris Jones strip sack for a second there, Kris.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty. So Chris Jones beats his man and gets around and strips Tannehill as he sacks him, and the ball just kind of ends up falling down right next to Tannehill. And On the replay, it looks like he's got his hand on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but K-Pass goes in there and grabs it and truly possesses it. And the referee immediately says that it's Chiefs' ball.
Yes.
And every turnover gets reviewed, and upon the review, they didn't overturn it.
Right. Yes.
Which, I'm not going to lie, kind of surprised me a little bit.
I'm cool with it, though.
Oh, go ahead.
I said I'm cool with it, though.
No, absolutely.
But so, okay, look, and so Chris Jones puts in the work. Chris Jones has been chopping wood. He was chopping wood all day yesterday. I will say that. Chris Jones looked great. But to refer back to what you were saying earlier in the show with the drive stalling, we're not good in the red zone. This was a true testament to that because we had every opportunity to put it in the end zone, and the drive stalled basically where it started, and we kicked a field goal, to go up 10-0. So, Chris, that's absolutely a missed opportunity and is, in direct correlation with what you were saying earlier in the show. So, it was tough to see us not get a touchdown there in a time where we should have. The momentum was in our favor. There was no reason for us not to score a touchdown there. But then, go ahead.
And technically we did, but we had a stupid penalty. And you can kind of call it both ways on this, but the penalty on Tyreek Hill with offensive pass interference,
right,
where he goes up and he hits the middle linebacker.
Right. Yes, yes. And that was, I don't know how I felt about that penalty, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, Tyreek Hill initiated contact there. I don't think that it wouldn't have mattered on the play call in the play. Kelsey would have still caught the ball and made it into the end zone untouched like he did.
Right.
Tyreek didn't need to do that.
Right. And it just, it's, again, the little things. And, I still don't know how I feel about that penalty. I'm sure, look, I saw that he initiated contact, but at the same time, I feel like that could have been one that wasn't called. I mean, there was 3 players in the area, including Tyreek Hill, the guy that's guarding him, and really, there really wasn't a window for Tyreek Hill to go anywhere else but run into the defender.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my thing about it is when I watched the play the second time on the replay, I was like, okay, so, they interrupted his route, which they did. And he probably, shortened his route up a little bit or, he made it happen. But at the same time, he did it in such a way where I think it could have gone either way. Was it a good call? I mean, why not? Whatever. But at the same time, it was close enough to where it was arguable. But
yeah, and then the very next play, Cam Irving gets called for offensive holding, throws us back another 10 yards. So then we're looking at 2nd and 26.
Right.
And we end up getting it down to 4th and 2. I mean, Kelsey caught on the 3rd and 19 play, caught a 17-yard pass, and he just came up 2 yards short. You still put them in position to make an easier field goal. I understand that, but you had 2 penalties there that essentially killed the drive.
Yes, big penalties, big penalties. And then you look at the final score. You take that field goal off and you put a touchdown on the board. We're all of a sudden up by 1, and so it's just these frustrating scenarios that we're going through here with the Chiefs. And so, look, we're up 10-0, though. Look, we're complaining about 10-0, but reason being, obviously, we lost the game. So the very next drive, Agua comes up with a huge sack, and I'm not sure if that was the play where he tore his pectoral muscle, but that was kind of a quiet injury.
My understanding was that the injury happened in the 4th quarter.
In the 4th quarter? Okay. So this was the drive that Tennessee scored, a touchdown pass from Tannehill.
Oh, no, that was the next one.
That was the next one? So, what, 3 and out?
This one was 6 plays, 26 yards, but they punted.
Punted. Okay, so then the Chiefs punted on the next drive, correct?
Yeah, a 9-play drive that they punted. Yeah.
Okay, so then tell me about this Tennessee scoring drive, to put them within reach with 10-7.
So 1st and 10 at the Tennessee 27, Tannehill threw a deep pass to his wide receiver Raymond for 73 yards for a touchdown, but on the replay, it showed that Ward ended up touching him while he was down.
Right.
And the ball was brought back out to the Kansas City 21.
Correct.
And then from there, they just kind of nickel and dimed it in, and then Tannehill hit his tight end Anthony Fersker, who had caught 5 catches all season prior till this point, for a 9-yard touchdown.
And that's that chess match.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And on the play, we got called for holding, and it was just a matter of he beat his man and got to the inside, got good position, and Tannehill threw a good pass.
It's just, obviously teams are going to put points up, and that's just the nature of football. And that was, I don't want to say that was where I realized that Tennessee came to play football, but in a way it was. When you go down 10-0 against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, and your back's up against the wall, especially a Tennessee team, and then they come back and answer that with a touchdown. Tennessee, I'm sure, felt really good about things. And then, directly after that is when Damian Williams puts the ball on the ground, and Tennessee takes it to the house. And it's just those series of events right there were crushing to the Chiefs. And not even at that time, because the Chiefs were obviously in control of most of the game outside of things like this. But still, that fumble proved to be extremely costly at the end of the game and probably cost us the game.
Yeah, it was definitely a momentum swing for them. Like you were saying, being ahead 10-0 and then letting them get back into the game, it took away the nail in the coffin. If we had been able to go up 17-0 on them, then that's basically a death nail for the most part.
Yes.
And for them to get back into the game, okay, that's just going to kind of wait on nailing that coffin. But then for them to come back and immediately get a confidence boost and take the lead 13-10.
Right.
Okay, things are not going our way anymore.
No, not at all. And look, their special teams was making mistakes as well. They missed the extra point on that fumble return for a touchdown. So yes, it put us at a 13 to 10 deficit after we were just up 10-0, and it just I wasn't nervous at this point at all, just because I know how the Chiefs are. And I figured, we'd get the ball back and go down and score a touchdown. And then instead, we kicked a field goal and went into half, tied 13-all. And so when we were tied at half, I felt really good about it. And I felt like we were going to go in the second half and take care of business. Typically the second quarter is the Chiefs' quarter where they, take off and pull away from teams. And today, or yesterday, was Tennessee's day for a great second quarter. So, Kris, what were your thoughts going into half, and what do we need to do or what the Chiefs need to do to change things up in their scheme to figure out how we can beat the Titans? What were your thoughts?
I was feeling very confident at that point because it's 13-13, but you look at what Mahomes was doing, he was I think 21 of 28 at that point, 200 yards in the first half. I mean, our offense was clicking. It was moving. It just wasn't finishing drives.
Right.
But knowing how our offense can be, I had every utmost confidence in them to turn things around and to start putting points on the board. On the flip side, I was happy with what our defense had done at that point. Our defense had only given up one touchdown.
which is
and
which
I mean
is
that's
great.
a huge testament to them and what they've done.
Yes,
And especially in comparison to earlier on in the season.
right.
I think at that point, Derrick Henry only had at 60 yards,
Wow.
which, I mean, going up against Derrick Henry and only giving up 50, 60 yards, that's impressive.
It really is impressive, and that's a testament to what looked like was another great game by the Chiefs. The defense did look great. Holding Derrick Henry to 60 yards and only giving up one touchdown, and then the fumble return. It's our defense looked great. Our defense looked great. So 13-13 half. And look, with that being said, we're going to go into halftime to Kansas City. So we will be right back.
Kansas City, it is halftime. Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Radio. We will return momentarily.
All right, Kansas City, we are back from our halftime break. And we're going to obviously move into the second half of the Kansas City Chiefs-Tennessee Titans game and go into depth about that. As stated, look, we were tied 13 all at the half, come back out, and the Titans had the ball first. I believe, we shut them down in the first drive. Then we get the ball back, and Patrick Mahomes, does his thing, moves us downfield, and had a nice touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill. Kris, kind of go in depth about that drive a little bit. What happened? We came out looking good, so what was really going on in that first drive?
Yeah, so on this first drive, we were really nickel and diming them, spreading the ball around. We hit Tyreek Hill. Damian Williams was running the ball. D-Rob got in there for a 20-yard catch. And then it was 1st and 10 on the 11, and Patrick Mahomes throws this beautiful moonshot throw to Tyreek Hill that just came down in the perfect spot and let Tyreek go and run onto it and make the catch.
That was a beautiful touch pass, and I believe we saw that against Denver as well. It seemed to be the exact same play. But then, look, Butker missed the extra point. And so we go up, 19-13 at that point, and that kind of seemed to be the start of, our special teams woes in the second half. And it didn't take long for that to happen. So then after that, okay, this next drive, this is the Derrick Henry touchdown, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the very next drive, I believe, they start somewhere like the 25-yard line or 30-yard line. And look, Derrick Henry burned us. It might have been on the second play of the drive, and Derrick Henry took it to the house, 68 yards. And that, again, in my mind, was a game changer. We knew Derrick Henry had it in him. And we'd done a really good job of holding him to that point. But that was obviously something that I don't even know the right words to say it. Took the wind out of our sails defensively and let us know that Derrick Henry is real. So, Kris, what was your thoughts on this Derrick Henry touchdown and that short drive to put them right back in this game?
Lack of gap commitment. Reggie Ragland overran his gap on this particular play, and the lineman, I can't remember who it was at this point in time, the defensive tackle got blocked out of his, and so Derrick Henry just had this freaking gorgeous lane to run through.
Right.
For all intents and purposes, was very much like the one that Damian Williams had last week on the 91-yarder. And the last real player that had any shot at him, Thornhill, was got a hold of his ankle, but you can't ankle tackle Derrick Henry. There's just no way that's going to happen.
No, there's
it
too much
slowed him
weight.
down for a split second, and then he was off.
Yeah, He's a monster, and he showed his full capability on that 68-yard touchdown, and he put Tennessee up 20-19 because again, that missed extra point proved to be costly right there, and this is now we're down, we're back down in the game, and so we get the ball back ourselves, and this is the Butker field goal drive, correct?
Yes.
So Kansas City gets the ball and drives downfield. Again, like you say, we look great going all the way downfield, then we get ourselves close to the red zone. I feel like anytime we get inside the 35-yard line of our opponent, we slow down. And like you said, I know speed kills all over the field, but our money man is Kelsey. And, we got him involved yesterday, but he's been taken out of the element, pretty much, I don't want to say this whole season, but this hasn't been an easy season for Travis Kelsey. So, yes, our drive stalls again. But go ahead.
And just to kind of touch on that for yesterday's game, whenever the Titans had Wesley Woodyard marked up on Kelsey, they kept him shut down. And so whenever like you said, whenever we get inside the 35, Woodyard gets placed on Kelsey, and then all of a sudden he disappears.
Yes.
And Tennessee, with Woodyard, all season long, he's been really good at shutting down tight ends. And when he was on Kelsey yesterday, it was more of the same. And again, I hate saying this, but they matched up really well with him in the right situations.
Yes, and that again proved costly, and that's that chess match. Mike Vrabel came with a really great game plan and implemented it to perfection. So Butker field goal, the drive stalls. Butker kicks a field goal. It's good, barely. And so we go back up 22-20. And at this point, we're getting late into the third quarter, and so we're going to move right into the fourth quarter because that's when the Mahomes-Hardman 63-yard touchdown pass happens. Was one of the most impressive throws, catches, and runs that I'd ever seen. That was an electric play, and you cannot duplicate that. That might go down as one of the greatest plays ever in Chiefs history just because of, every aspect of that play was showtime. And I don't just want to say Mahomes, but Hardman. It was a remarkable play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never seen a player with a sixth gear. Hardman hit it on that one.
Absolutely. And look, that was 400 meter speed right there. Okay, that's different than a 100-yard dash. I would say that Tyreek Hill has Hardman on that, but I promise you, if Hardman and Hill run a 400-meter, Hardman's coming out on top.
Oh, for sure.
So we move into the fourth quarter. Now we are, the Mahomes-Hardman connection for a touchdown. It puts us up 29-20. So things are looking good. Things are swinging back in our direction. And then again, who dices us up on the very next drive?
Derrick Henry ends up dicing us up.
Yep, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry dices us up on that very next drive. Had a couple really nice runs, got him down to the 1-yard line, and put it in the end zone. And so, look, at this point, we're still okay. We're still up 2, even though they ran it down our throat, which they did. I will give Tennessee that. Derrick Henry had 23 carries for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns with an 8.2 yards per carry average. That is absolutely unacceptable on all levels, and it showed today. But we're still up 2 points. So let
me just touch on something about this particular drive here really quickly.
Okay.
The last 3 plays before the Derrick Henry 1-yard rush for the score. So this was a pretty sustained drive, pretty long in length, decently, but then those last 3 plays were all no huddle.
Right, yes, and that's what killed us. That has killed us all season long. When we go into a no-huddle situation and they're in their hurry-up offense, we can't stop anybody.
Yeah, and so it made it really easy for Derrick Henry to be able to just waltz into the end zone for that touchdown.
Right, and I mean, the run right before the touchdown run, that was a great run. I mean, the momentum was in Derrick Henry's favor at that time. Why not give him the ball one more time and let him punch it in from like the 1-inch line? So look, at Kansas City, we are the cardiac chiefs. That's what I'd love to call us this year because, hey, we go right back down the field. And we put Butker in a position to kick a field goal, and we get another field goal. So now we go up 32-27. And then after that field goal is probably these next few drives are the most interesting drives that I've probably seen in a long time. A lot of series of events that leaves me scratching my head. And it just, I don't know. It hurts. We'll put it that way. It hurts, Kansas City. So talk about this next drive a little bit, Kris, because all Kansas City needed to do was stop Tennessee.
So we're looking at, the drive took it down to about the 2-minute warning, and Tennessee knew that they needed to score a touchdown here. And on 3rd and 5, Taylor Lewan, their tackle, ended up getting a false start and pushed them back an additional 5. So then it became 3rd and 10. And on 3rd and 10, Tannehill got sacked by Frank Clark for a loss of 7 yards.
Huge play.
And then we hit the 2-minute warning. And on 4th and 17, they went for it, and they missed it. So then KC gets the ball at the Tennessee 32-yard line.
And so I personally feel like we're in a great position to seal this win. All we have to do is get a first down. We just need a first down. And
yeah, because at this point, Tennessee still had all 3 of their timeouts.
Yes, they did. All 3 of their timeouts. And so, we're at 2 minutes or slightly under 2 minutes. And we obviously, take the safe play. We ran on first down with Williams, correct?
Yeah.
And then second down was a run?
Yep. So Damian Williams had 3 yards on the first run and 5 yards on the second.
Okay, so that put us in a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 scenario. And then that's when we attempt we were trying to set up a screen, correct?
Yeah, tight end screen.
And it just didn't work for us. It worked for us all game long. I mean, honestly, we'd run that play quite a few times, and it had given us great success. And we ran it on all sides of the field, which was awesome. We saw Kelsey run one in for a touchdown on a weird shovel pass. But, I mean, just those little scenarios with our tight ends, we were really rolling with the tight ends today.
Yeah, but here's my problem with this particular play call is why are we aiming to throw it to Bell?
Right.
We should be throwing it to Kelsey. Now, granted, they probably have Woodyard matched up against Kelsey at this point.
Yes.
So Bell probably has the mismatch.
Right.
But I would have liked to have seen another wide receiver on the field besides just Tyreek Hill.
Well, they kept a spy on Mahomes, and that's what killed the play is because there are 3 defenders over there in that area just by Bell. And, one of them was just a spy for Mahomes, and it just happened to – it didn't seem like – obviously the play didn't develop the way they would like it to, and that's when Mahomes, took a sack and slid down. And, look, we were still in field goal position. We were still in a situation where we can add another field goal to it and really put this game out of reach. We would have gone up by, 9 or 8?
Let's see, 5. Yeah, by 8.
So it wouldn't have been out of reach, but it would have been a huge hurdle for Tennessee to have to go over to go down, score a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion just to tie it. So Mahomes takes a sack. we bring the special teams out, and what are we looking at? A 39, 42-yard field goal somewhere in there?
Yeah.
So,
because the ball is at the Tennessee 29, so yeah, you're looking at about 47-yard field goal.
okay, so 47, and that's not a short field goal. We're looking at a pretty long field goal here, but we have confidence in Butker. Now, this is where the botch snap came into play. The botch snap happens. That's something that we haven't seen a lot of in Chiefs Kingdom, and I'll tell you what, Colquitt didn't know what to do. Next time, Colquitt, I'll tell you what, don't throw the ball. Don't throw the ball. And especially just don't throw it to the sideline where nobody's around to make the refs have to make a judgment call there, and which ultimately, that's another reason why we lost the game. So there's a minute and 21 left in the game, and we just gave the ball right back to Tennessee. So, Kris, break that down. What happened with that play? That was just that's something that we couldn't overcome.
So, watching the replay, Dustin Colquitt had his fist up, and it's closed. Now, his signal has always been when he's calling for the ball, he opens his hand.
Right, correct.
That's his version of saying hike.
Right.
And Winchester is looking down, and he's looking for that. And the entire time, Colquitt's hand is closed. And then for whatever reason, all of a sudden the ball comes and hits him in the chest. And looking at the surprise in his eyes, he had no idea what just happened. He stands up and he throws the ball.
Right.
And I personally really wish that he had done what is his job and just kicked the ball. So then it would have been a punting situation. It could have potentially pinned the Tennessee Titans down even further.
Right.
But we got called for a intentional grounding, which is enforced from the position, so from the Tennessee 29. So they got 10 yards added on from there. So they took the ball at the Tennessee 39-yard line.
Correct. And then they relentlessly moved the ball downfield. So that was a horribly botched play by the special teams. Again, there's a lot of stuff that I'm putting on the special teams' shoulders in this game. Huge play. And then tell us what Tennessee does, because this is the turning point in the game. Obviously, they score a touchdown, but tell us what happened.
Okay, so when Tennessee gets the ball here, they don't have a timeout. And so they have to either throw it along the sidelines or nickel and dime it all the way down the field and be very quick about it.
Right.
And so on first down, Ryan Tannehill scrambles to the Kansas City 43-yard line for 18 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that right there probably was a huge knock into the sails. I mean, the quarterback, who hasn't really done anything the entire game, and we can argue that here in a second, he ran for 18 yards. And then on the very next play, he threw an incomplete deep pass to their, I think it was A.J. Brown. And for whatever reason, K-Pass was in on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then on second down, Tannehill hit a deep pass to Fursker again for 20 yards down to the Kansas City 23. And then from here, he hits Adam Humphries, who it was a go route, and he faked Fenton and to the out, and then cut back in. Fenton tripped over himself on this one and fell down, and Adam Humphries caught it, and he essentially just walked into the end zone.
Yep.
I can't put that on the safeties for being there because they had four wide receivers all on go routes. The safeties have to kind of sit back there and cover all of those potential throws.
Right, absolutely. It put us in a vulnerable scenario, and they exploited that. And it was way too easy for Tennessee to walk down the field and rip the lead right back from us. And at this point, they're up by 3.
Well, they're up by 1 because it's 32. But then they went for the 2-point conversion, and they hit it.
Ryan Tannehill ran that one in. And
beat Thornhill.
Yes, and I felt like Thornhill should have won that battle. He beat Thornhill twice on a run, mind you. And I believe they're both on the last drive, weren't they?
Yeah.
And
so I believe the first one was on him as well.
Yes, and that was the first down run.
Yeah.
And so Tennessee goes back up 35-32. And how much time? We're under 30 seconds at this point, correct?
Yeah, 23 seconds, 24 seconds on the clock.
All right, 24 seconds on the clock. And you know what's crazy? And this is what frustrates me about Chiefs Kingdom and why we're coming down so hard on the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Say that amount of time again, Kris.
24 seconds.
24 seconds on the clock. Any other team is dead in the water. There's no way your team is taking it down the field and putting your team in a position to tie the game to send it into overtime. But guess who can do that? Patrick Mahomes. And guess who does it on a regular basis? Patrick Mahomes. And you want to know why? Because we have a great coach that sets our quarterback up for success to be able to drive the ball down the field. And how long did it take him? Like 10 seconds to get the ball, like 40 yards downfield?
Yeah, it was like, 2 plays, about 13 seconds.
13 seconds, Kansas City. What do you have to complain about? And obviously, we know what happened here. We'll get into that in a second. But what do you have to complain about, Kansas City? Any other team, the game would have been over right there. There wouldn't be a let's drive the ball downfield in 13 seconds or 17 seconds and put ourselves in a position to kick the game-tying field goal. That wouldn't happen to any other team. We're spoiled, Kansas City. I think that's our problem. So, Kris, Mahomes puts us in a scenario to kick the game-tying field goal. So, what's up with this field goal? Please tell me what happened.
Okay, so Harrison Butker is set up for a 52-yard field goal, which we all know that he can hit. He hit it last week to win the game, and so we have every bit of confidence that he can hit this.
Right.
This is going the opposite direction of the one that he missed the extra point on. So again, you feel really good about this.
Right.
And at the snap, the far left end for the defense, Kalu, got a tremendous jump. And I know that a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, as well as Andy Reid, wanted to go back and watch the replay on that because he looked like he was offsides. There's video of this from the side, and straight down the line, that shows he didn't jump. He didn't jump off sides. He got a tremendous jump off the snap.
Right.
And Blake Bell did not block him and let him run by untouched. And so he's able to do exactly what he's taught to do, get around the outside, dive, get your hand up, and try to block the kick. And his hand just happened to be at the right place at the right time as that ball was coming up, and he deflected it, and then ended up getting picked up by Sims, and he runs it back for 14 yards, but then the tackle, and then the game's over.
And so, in heartbreaking fashion, we lose due to a special teams blunder, penalties, setbacks, mistakes. The list goes on and on and on for this game. Should we have won it? Absolutely. This is our fourth loss in a row to Tennessee. They have our number. Did you also know that Andy Reid is now 1-8 in his coaching career against the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, they're the one team that he has not defeated twice.
Right.
When he does that he will be the only other coach besides Bill Belichick to have defeated every team in the league a minimum of twice.
Right.
Think about that, Kansas City.
Right. Absolutely. So, we lose a heartbreaker, a really hard loss, 35-32. We have LA, the Chargers coming up this next week. Kris, if you're Andy Reid and you're this coaching staff, what are you saying going into this week off of a loss that in so many ways could have been avoided, and it's not on Andy Reid? What do you say to your troops? How do you rally your troops? Because this is going to be a turning point in the season. Ultimately, we're in a must-win scenario next week. So if you're Andy Reid, what do you do?
I definitely have to retool my defensive line. That's the first and foremost thing. Mm-hmm. Having Pennell out as a healthy scratch and leaving him out for this game when you're going up against Derrick Henry is a huge misstep. And I also feel that Colin Saunders only seeing 13% of the snaps on defense is another mistake, because when we were shutting down the run game, Pennell and Saunders were at D tackle and doing a rotation in there with Noddy, and they were being successful.
Right.
And so what I want to see us do this next game, and really for the rest of the season, is move Chris Jones to defensive end, opposite of Frank Clark. At defensive tackle, you have a rotation of Noddy, Saunders, and Pennell. And then I know that Spags likes to get creative here and throw K-Pass in there sometimes. That's fine. Throw in Jones on there on third and longs, get after the quarterback. Okay, I'm fine with that. But have that trio, especially against the running teams or on running plays to shut down the run. Have Frank Clark and Chris Jones on the outside, mix in K-Pass in there as well. And I think that with what we have, that's going to be the best scenario moving forward to keep these guys healthy and shutting down until Okafor gets back. And then then you have a four-headed monster out there on the outside that you can just keep rotating players through.
Right. Kris, I hate to end this, but I've got to get on with my day here. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this? We have seriously broken down this game in every way we possibly could and given Chiefs Kingdom, a reason why they shouldn't really be so hard on the coaching staff. And look, it was a hard loss. We got to look forward to next week. I don't even care about the Tennessee Titans anymore. It was a tough loss. Let's put it in the past. We're moving forward. We got a critical game, and that's really what we need to think about. So, Kris, do you have anything to add before I end the show today?
Just stay positive, Kansas City. Stay positive and keep your eye on the prize. We're moving in that direction. The sky is not falling.
Right, and it's not, Kansas City. I mean, just get it together. Look, we're all right, Kansas City. Yes, like Kris said, stop acting like the sky's falling. We've got a lot of football ahead of us, and we'll be all right. So with that, Kansas City, this is Kingdom Radio. I am your host, Richard Smith. Thank you for joining us, along with my co-host, Kris Chavez. Kris, thank you for being on the show today and bringing your expertise to the table.
Thank you for having me. One final thing. Mahomes set a bunch of records yesterday. If I can throw those in just really quickly.
Go ahead.
He is the sixth quarterback since 1970 with at least 15 games of 3 or more touchdowns over any 25-game span. But he's the first to do it in his first 25 career games. He also has the most passing yards through the first 25 games and most touchdowns, and tied Kurt Warner for the most 300-yard passing games in the first 25 games at 16.
These records are just going to keep on falling, Kansas City, and that's why we love having Showtime in Kansas City. So, hey, look, we do love our MVP. We love our team. Look, we love our head coach. Big Red, Kansas City loves you. We respect this franchise, and we've got a long season ahead of us. So keep your heads up, Kansas City. Move on with your work week. Look forward to the Chargers, because that's what's coming up next. So with that being said, thank you for being with us today, Kansas City. Have a great week.
Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Radio, your go-to podcast for everything Kansas City Chiefs.